Yeah, yeah. Fucking Americans, something else. Let's get into it. Before I get started, give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Hashem, Yahweh Shah, Hashem Rakapadash. We're gonna get straight into this lesson. Coming back out here, I made another one. You know, this is probably gonna be a quick lesson today. Quick camp. You know, I've been catching hell lately. Big hell, you know. But I'm still hanging on. We're gonna get straight into it. This is Ezekiel 37:1. The hand of Yahweh was upon me and carried me out in the spirit of Yahweh and set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones. So this valley that's being mentioned in Ezekiel verse 1 is America. Now it's also mentioned as a low valley, man. America is a low place. And it said it was full of bones. Yeah, it's full of bones, man. For you so-called Negro Latinos and Native Americans, you know, it's full of bones, but let's go on. And caused me to pass by them round about, and behold, there were many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry. Yeah, the bones here are very dry because a great majority of you so-called Negro Latinos and Native Americans, you know, don't know who you are, don't have the spirit in you, man. So you're very dry. You know, you content being a Mexican, African American, Black, Native American, whatever you call yourself, man. You're very content with that. You know? So your bones are very dry. For starters, the Most High didn't put the spirit on you, but we're gonna get into that. Verse 3, and he said unto me, and he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Most High Power, thou knowest. So he was asking, can these bones live? Which, he already knew the answer. Yeah, there are some bones that are still living, man, or have came to life here in this Babylonian, well, let's say this New Babylon captivity, man. This spiritual Sodom and Egypt captivity. Because hey, I'm living proof, man. And like-minded men like myself is doing the same work all over the world, man. The bones are, they got some life in them now, man. Verse 4, again, he said unto me, prophesy unto these bones, say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of Yahweh. So yeah, that's what we come out in the same spirit as Ezekiel, man. Telling you so-called Negro Latinos and Native Americans, man. Come hear the word of the Most High. Awaken out of your slumber, man. Turn back from your wicked ways. Repent from your wicked ways. And the Most High will abundantly pardon you, man. And we do prophesy to you, man. Let you know what's coming down the pipe. The MOTB microchip, which is the microchip, market of beast, financial, economic collapse, stock market crashing, Jacob's trouble, martial law, famine, pestilences, plagues. We'll tell you about all this, man. And on top of all that, we're telling you that a savior is coming back to redeem his people, man. A so-called black man by the name of Yahweh Shah. You know how he's going to deliver his elect from the four corners of the earth. You know, so we tell you all these things and we prophesy all these things that are to come. You know? Verse 5. Thus says the most high power unto these bones. Behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and ye shall live. So yeah, so what you're seeing now, the breath has entered into me because hey, I know who I am. You know, I know where I come from, I know who my power is, man. You know, I know that I got a savior. And I know that you know, eventually all this is gonna come to an end, man. Captivity, being Esau, being up under Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. And this word has entered into me, man. You know, I try to keep the law, statute, commandments to the best of my abilities. You know? So what you saying, that breath, you know, has entered into me, man. And hey, I'm alive now, man. You know, I'm alive. You know, because before you come into this, man, you were in a dead state. You know, you're spiritually dead, man. Yeah, you walking around, you animated, you got a pulse, you can breathe. But come spiritually, man. You're dead as could be, man. You calling yourself what else? Calling yourself a nigga. You know, you calling yourself any and everything up under the sun except who you really are and truly are, man. Verse 6. And I will lay sinews upon you and will bring upon flesh upon you and cover you with skin and put breath in you and you shall live and you shall know that I am Yahweh. So yeah, all this has been put on me, man. You know, sinews, the muscles. You know, I'm actually a walking body, man. I'm not just a skeleton, you know, just roaming around, eating any and everything, eating all unclean foods. Like Jake was talking to me the other day about, man, you should try alligator. I said, what? He said, yeah, man, you should try alligator. I was like, hell no. Come on, it tastes like spicy chicken. I said, look, I'm gonna leave that to y'all, man. I'm not eating that shit. Okay. You know, number one, I'm not gonna eat it because of the dietary laws. And two, that shit don't look like nothing I would want to eat, man. Who the fuck wants to eat an alligator, bro? You know? You know, I've seen many a gators, and not once man, was I like, yeah, that'll look good on a grill. You know? Never. But you so-called Negroes and so-called Latinos, especially, all into that shit down here. You know, that goddamn swamp food, man. Yeah, I call it swamp food. You know, I don't eat that shit. Like crawfish, shrimp, catfish, all abominable. Crabs. Man, I'm not eating that garbage, man. Number one, because I feel the most high not to do it. And two, the laws tell me not to do it. So I'm stuck. I'm bound by the law, man. I know I'm not supposed to be eating that shit. So you eating shrimp, crab, and lobster, and squid, and I think uh one of the Manassites, brother I work with, he come out how he go to sushi and eat that eel. I'm like, what? Jake is into all kind of madness out here, man. I was eating eel, man. Believe me, bro, I was there way, way back. I tried some things eating before I got into this truth. It was like a one or done thing, man. And I was like, that ain't for me. It just the only thing that held on the longest was that damn pork demon eating pork, man. But the most I had it one day where I'll never forget I was in the kitchen. I was boiling some sausage. Had it in there and they was all ready to go. They come out the pot, I throw them on the plate. Matter of fact, I didn't even put it on the plate. I think I ate it straight out the pot, let it cool off. And then I fucking bit into it. And all that grease and that water just shot in my mouth. I was like, right then and that day, I was like, I'm done with this. I was like, I'm done with eating fucking pork sausage, man. And we used to eat that shit fucking from sun up to sundown, man. Every day. So it was various stages in my life where the Most High was slowly waking me up, man. Get me prepared for this day. Get me prepared for this time. For me to come out and prophesy to the so-called Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans who don't know who they are, which are the dry bones, the very dry bones. And I was done with pork after that. Once you come into the truth, you start tightening up a little bit. Because, before, somebody would order a pizza or something, I just pick the pepperoni off. I wouldn't eat it. Or somebody cook some in some pork broth or something. I Jake cook greens and shit. I eat everything else, but I won't eat the pork. But once you get that breath put into you, you realize you can't have nothing with pork in it, man. No kind of shrimp broth, no unclean fish. No, so once you get that life, that breath put into you by the Most High Yahweh, start tightening up and cleaning up your walk in this truth, man. You start getting your walk cleaned up. Verse 9, then said he unto me, prophesy unto the wind, prophesy, son of man, and say to the wind, thus is the Most High power. So yeah, prophesying to the wind. Nobody out here listening to me, man. So I'm still gonna prophesy into the wind and say, hey, that America's getting ready to go down. We saw even the so-called white man is done. He's about to get knocked down out of power. And these people on this sign is getting ready to come in the rulership, man. We about to rule. We got next. We're telling you that Yahweh, our Savior, is gonna come back and wreck shop. He ain't coming back to play patty cake with folks, man. He's not coming back to do a MOU with Esau, man. He's not coming back to do a peace deal with Sleazy E. He's coming to take the crown, man, the throne, the earth, the whole planet. You know, and we're getting very, very, very close to that day. Because I don't know if you kept up with the news, man. America struck a ship, or struck Iran today, because Iran struck a ship in the Strait of Hormuz. So the U.S. responded with an attack. So hey, man, it's nothing but war. World War III still going on. You know, all that peace deal and brokering a peace deal is all just smoke and mirrors, man. You know, the Most High is directing this movie, man. He's directing the movie, and I'm out here prophesying to the wind, telling you that hey, everything that's in these scriptures has been prophesied, has come to pass, or is going to come to pass, man, or is in the process of being coming to pass, man. And there's nothing you could do about it, man. Nothing I could do about it. No matter what, the Most High show still goes on, man, with or without you, bro. So you can stay on the fence, twiddle your thumbs, and be like, hey, man, you know, I still got all the time in the world to get out there on the highways and the byways. You know, Jake like to do shit at the last minute, man. Jake has a very procrastinate spirit on him, man. You know, once everything get cut off, there's no food, no water, no electricity. Then you'll find the so-called Negro Latinos and Native Americans who've been watching the videos. You know, watching whether they watching me, watching various other camps. You're gonna try looking for those brothers and try looking for me. And it's gonna be too late, man. It's gonna be way too late. And that's what another thing we keep prophesying, telling you that eventually it's gonna be famine of the word, man. Eventually, we're not gonna be out here. I'm not gonna be out here. You know, so it don't matter how many times I come out here and tell Jake, man. Jake don't believe it until to the shit hit the fan. But it's quite okay, man. It's quite okay. This says Yahweh power come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slain that they may live. So yeah, the Most High done that. He said, hey, he said, breathe, O breath, and breathe upon these slain that they may live. So look, I'm living, man. I've come to the realization who I am. I know I got a power, and that's just the gist of it, man. That's pretty much in a nutshell. I was instructed to come out and prophesy, wake up the sheep of the lost house, to the lost sheep of the house of the nation of Israel. So I came out here and got on my post, man. Never taking my hand off the plow. And when you get that breath put on you by the Most High, you got to do the same thing. Once you come out, you say, hey, I'm going to make a vow and come out and start preaching into the winds, man, or prophesying to the wind. You got to keep doing it, man. You just can't take a 2-month break, 3-week break here and there. It don't go that way, man. You got to stay continuously holding that plow. This is Ezekiel 37:10. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived and stood upon their feet, an exceeding great army. So yeah, we standing on our feet, man. A great army of used to be dry bones. We standing on our, like saying, we 10 toes down now, man. You know, brothers that like minded who are actually in this thing, in this truth, and doing this work sincerely. You know, that you really actually believe in. Now, this ain't nothing to get your YouTube likes up, get you a following. You know, just so people can see you out on the block, thinking you, oh, you know, you so smart, you so educated. You know, because Jake gets into this truth, and they turn into all about me. You know, you want to be that top dog, so to speak. You want to be that top guy in Israel. You know, you want the fancy armbands. You know, you want everybody looking at you like you so great. You know, like you came up with these breakdowns, man. You didn't come up with these breakdowns. These breakdowns were given to us, man, with the apostles and elders. You know, but Jake takes on a persona, like I say, knowledge, puff it up, and now you want to act like you was in the library with the apostles of GMS. You know, pulling out the books, pulling out the text, the microfiche. You know, breaking these scriptures down, man, with facts, historical facts. And most important, you got to have the spirit, man, in order to see it and interpret it, to understand it. You know, so you'll get a new Jake or a Jake that's been in this for a little bit. You know, they'll do the start their own thing, and you know, next thing you know, they built them a following up, man. You know, but the whole time it was all in deceit, though. They had their own intentions. You know, they just want to get the money. They want they want the fame. They want to be, you know, reverenced by men. You know, they want their kingdom here, man. You know, they want the nice Hellcats, G wagons, and whatever else, man. Whatever tickles Jake's fancy. You know, they want that now. You know, there's nothing wrong with having nice things, but that ain't what it's all about. No, it's about, you know, getting this truth, getting this salvation, and getting your ass delivered, man. You know, making your calling of election sure. You know, you want to be, you know, you want to be seen or caught doing the work, man. Matter of fact, we're gonna jump to Revelation 11:11 to back that up. It's a Revelation 11:11, and after 3 days and a half, which is 350 years, and a half, the spirit of life from the Most High entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. You know, and that's talking about us, man. And the great fear that saw them was the elite, because they saw that we awakened from that slumber, and they thought you know, they buried the name of Israel, man. They thought they done away with us. You know, that the name of Israel be no more mentioned in Psalms 83. You know, they gave us African American, black, colored, Negro, freeman. And they got some other bullshit, FBA. You know, so they got all this, or had all these names planned out for us, man, except for who our true names are. And when the elite saw it, matter of fact, I remember one of the apostles, I believe it was Apostle Tahar or Kabar, was saying that when they was on the block up there in New York City, that, you know, they had the sun, which you got to have a stick. You know, they had the stick, and said some so-called white man rolled up in a limousine, rolled down his window, and then he asked him, he's like, where do you get that sign from, man? Where you get that information from? He was like, I forget exactly what matter of fact, I don't remember what he said, but it was like this guy came up inquiring about where did he come up with this sign and how did he know that he was from these people? You know, that goes to show you. I think this was back in the 80s or something he was saying, 80s or 90s, I believe. How this guy just rolled up and inquiring about how did you find out this information? So that goes to show you that these nations, they always knew who we were, man. They just didn't tell us. Mm-hmm. We was left out of the loop. But see, if it was up to them, we'll never find out who we are, man. So that's why the Most High had to put the spirit on Abba Bivens, and I forget the group he was with before him, but then he split off from them, and then it went from Abba Bivens to the 7 to the apostle and elders of GMS, man, on down to us, man. And we got the spirit all through them, man. You know? And the rest was history. Go back to that Ezekiel 37. Matter of fact, let's go to that Isaiah 44. It's Isaiah 44:1. Yet now hear, O Jacob, my servant, and Israel, whom I have chosen. So the Most High has a chosen people, man. And they never change, man. And it's never gonna change. He has a people that he's only dealing with, he's only concerned with, man. You know? The only people he only loves, man. Verse 2, thus says Yahweh that made thee and formed thee from the womb, which will I help thee. The Most High saying, he will help thee. And you got to believe in that the Most High will help you, man. Matter of fact, it says in Ecclesiastes, Sirach 2, it says, believe in him, he will help you, man. It says, fear not, O Jacob, my servant, and thou Jeshurun, whom I have chosen. So yeah, Jeshurun is a nickname for Israel, man. He's saying, hey, I've chosen you to be my people. The people on this sign, the Most High have chosen us to be his people, man. He's not this we are the world type power that the Christian church like to portray, man. Oh, he just loves any and everybody, That ain't the case, man. We've been lied to all our life about that. That that's an old song there. We are the world, They think the Most High is on that type of time, man. Now, if you just so happen to look like another nation, but you come from these people, hey, but you still an Israelite. So the Most High is dealing with you, man. But if you ain't an Israelite, he ain't dealing with you. It's just that simple. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm not gonna, give you some sugar to make that medicine go down smoother, man. I'll make it taste better for you. We had to hear our whole life that the people in Israel was the Most High chosen people. We had to hear that all our life. Didn't nobody apologize for that. So I'm not going to apologize now saying, hey, we got the biblical truth that we are those actually true people who's supposed to be in that land in Israel right now, you know? And I'm not making no kind of excuses or apologizing for nothing, man. It is what it is, you know? You know, they wear that with honor over there. You know, they standing on it. And you don't see them going all over the world talking about, oh no, Most High loves you too. No, they ain't saying that shit. You know, they saying they the people. Verse 3, well, I will pour water upon him that is thirsty and floods upon the dry ground. And I will pour my spirit upon thy seed and my blessing upon thine offspring. So yeah, it says, for I will pour water upon him, which is the truth, man. We've been watered, you know? So the Most High poured that water on us, spiritual water, and here we are, man, like springing up like grass, you know? As a matter of fact, that's in the next verse. It says, and they shall spring up as among the grass, as willows by the water courses. So yeah, we have sprung up just like that, man. You know, because hey, we was in a dead state, and water brings life, and water being this truth, you know, has brought us to life, man. You know, I'm no longer in that dead state. I'm no longer walking around, you know, talking about, oh, you know, I'm an African American, you know, or I'm black, you know, I know that dumb shit. Now you do it for the job's sake on an application or some shit, you know, you don't go in there and put in, I'm a, you know, Hebrew Israelite from the tribe of such and such, you know, you know, your ass ain't gonna be hired like that, you know, but you play the game, you know, you play sleazy game, but the whole time you know who actually where you come from, man. You know exactly where you come from and who you are, man. You know, you don't go on the job looking got your fringes on, and you know it been some jakes that do that, man, and you just making yourself a target, you know, because they're gonna say, hey, we gotta get this crazy nigga out of here, man. You know, he talking about here Israelite, you know, you know, they gonna get your ass out of there, bro. Believe that. And then you're gonna get them demons on the job bothering you too every day. Well, if God is in power, in control, why he allow this to happen? Why you won't stop this? Then you're gonna get all that dumb shit every day, you know? So the best thing when you come into this truth, you know, the Most High breathe the life on you is keep your damn mouth shut on that job, man. You know? Cause believe me, them motherfuckers gonna try you on that job, answer you all these dumb ass questions. You know? And then they're gonna paint you out to be the villain, man. You know, they're gonna paint you as the damn villain, the damn quack. You know, while the whole time this nigga eating a damn pork chop sandwich, man. Talking about you crazy. You know? Oh, he got a damn shrimp po' boy by that long for lunch. And he told me, oh shit, nigga, you crazy. Tomorrow we can't eat shrimp. You know? So but you'll learn that, man. You just gonna learn, hey, don't tell nobody about the truth unless you're out on the block. Because you know, I made that rookie mistake too. But we all make the mistakes. You know, you got people you love, you know, you think you can wake them up, and then You hit them with something, and then they come back like you're like, oh shit, what I get myself into? I should have kept my mouth shut. You know, you know. You're like, fuck, why I open my mouth? Then you realize, hey, it ain't you that wake people up, man. You know, I'm just a messenger. Remember that time, I was telling my mama that shit. You know, I was like, hey, because you got to tell mama when you get this and you understand it and hit your spirit, you got to tell mama. Guess what? Mama ain't hearing that shit, man. She ain't hearing it. you know, I'm going through telling her about the curses and stuff like that, and then she was like, "Hey, we can break the curses." I was like, "Oh shit, I done fucked up." Right then, I knew I had fucked up. Yeah. And when she said that, I was like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah." And never came up again, man. That's been 7 years ago. Yeah. But you live and you learn, man. No, you live and you learn. Well, when she said that, it's like the wind got knocked out of me. I was like, can't believe she said this. You know? I can't believe she even came up with this. And your pops and he ain't listening. He sending me text messages. He all that church and shit on Sunday. He don't want to hear nothing about no so-called black man coming back to save him. You know, he think he waiting on the so-called white man to come back. So you wasting your time telling him. You know, who else I tried to tell? Yeah, my son told him. He wasn't hearing it either, man. Then you just realize, hey, you in this all by yourself, man. You're in a room full of people, but spiritually, you by yourself. And that's why a lot of guys can't handle this walk, man. Because in the end of the day, you are by yourself, man. You got to carry your own cross, you know? And it's more mental than physical, man. It's more mentally. That's the hardest part of the battle, man. The mental part, you know? You got to deal with these damn demons out here. Demons bothering you in your brain, physical ailments, all of the above, man. But at the end of the day, you're by yourself, man. You can just walk into a damn Superdome, and you realize, man, most sides is only dealing with you in there, man. You know, and that drives a man crazy, I guess. You know, verse 3: For I will pour water upon him that is thirsty, and floods upon the dry ground. I will pour my spirit upon thy seed, and my blessing upon thy offspring. Verse 4: And they shall spring up as the grass, as willows by the watercourses. Verse 5: One shall say, I am Yahweh's, and another shall call himself by the name of Jacob, and another shall subscribe with his hand unto Yahweh, and surname himself by the name of Israel. So yeah, hey, we've been surnamed by the name of Israel. Man. His name was Jacob, and he got switched over to Israel. And we are those descendants from Israel, man. Or Jacob, if you will. And believe this, he had 12 sons. You know what I'm talking about? He had 12 of them, bro. And we all standing up on our feet, man, because that life got put into us, man. That spirit. Like I was saying earlier, we no longer in that dead state. You know, why would you want to go back to the world? But you got a lot of guys that fall out. There's nothing to do in the world, man. Nothing. I couldn't see myself going back. I'm gonna go back out to clubs and bars again. You know, trying to meet some new whores every week. You know, wondering if this bitch gonna call you next week, or you trying to get up with her to take her out this week. You got to get somewhere on the list. You know, fuck all that. You know, you spending all your money on some bitch who been used up, high mileage. No, God forbid, most I forbid, you go to the club and then you got some other stupid clown trying to get the same whore you trying to get. So now you got to beef with him because he trying to get a number. You know, it just fucking madness, man. You know, I'd rather just stay in this truth and be bored every day at the house on the weekend, man. You know, I'd rather just be fucking twiddling my thumbs, looking at the wall, and going out fucking walking up and down Bourbon looking for some bitches, man. Let's go on, man. Let's hit that Micah 3. This is Micah 3 and 1. It says, and I said, here, I pray you, O heads of Jacob, and ye princes of the house of Israel. It is not for you to know judgment. So yeah, the heads of Jacob, you know, you want to be a leader in this thing, you know, or if you are a leader, you got your a camp, you're a camp head, you know, it's up to you to know judgment, man. Good from evil, you know. Verse 2, who hate the good and love the evil, who pluck off their skin from off them and their flesh from off their bones. So, you know, you got guys in this truth, they hate the good and love the evil, man. You know, they call themselves camp lead. Hey, like in anything else, you know, you got wolves and sheep clothing, man. You know, I don't care what it is. You got some people who got their own interests, you know? You know, just because of motherfuckers saying they, you know, they follow the Lord, don't mean they actually following the Lord, man. You know, it's a lot of dirt that came out, man. On a lot of brothers. You know, they get on that camera and they the most righteous, well respected Israelite on camera. But when everybody's gone, the camera off, and they get by themselves, they on demon time, man. You know, they a fucking whole demon. So not only you don't have to be hearers of the word, you got to be doers of the word also, man. You got to be able to walk it like you talk it, like they say. You know, I'm the same on and off camera, man. Every day. You know, I ain't gonna be like, oh, let me put this up and go home and I'm gonna pull out the honey baked ham and shit, you know, or the double pepperoni pizza. Ain't gonna be none of that. But you got a lot of guys in this truth, man. Well, I wouldn't say they was in the truth, but they portrayed like they was in the truth. You know, they got the biggest necklaces, beads. You know, they got 20, 30, 40 incense that they burning. You know, you say one or two words, they know what precept it is, what scripture, but the whole time they just faking it, man. And believe me, it's a lot of brothers been fucked over in this truth too, man. So you got to be aware of that. Be aware of that too. That hey, you got to try these men out, and if some shit ain't right, you feel it ain't right, most likely it's not right. You know, you give a brother a couple chances, but you keep coming up with like something ain't right. Then you need to investigate, man, and find out. Like I said, you need to watch that nigga, man. You know, you need to watch it, especially if you always, you know, especially if you always need some damn money. You know, because believe me, Jake, you know, Jake will supplant your ass, man. You gotta keep that in mind too. You just read that verse 2 again. It says, "Who hate the good and love the evil, who pluck off their skin from off them and their flesh from off their bones." So yeah, you try to tell a man that, hey, you ain't an Israelite. Like somebody come up to me saying, hey, you ain't an Israelite. You know, you're African. You come from the west coast of Africa. You know, you come from Negro land. You know, which may be truth. May, you know, which is some truth to that. But that don't take away my nationality, man. What my true nationality is. Yeah, we spent time in Africa, but we ain't from no fucking Africa, man. So when you got somebody coming up and telling you, "Oh no, you're African," now you trying to cut the skin off me, man. You trying to bring me back to a dead state. Verse 3: "Who also eat the flesh of my people and flay their skin from off them." So yeah, you know they'll cut the skin off you, man, and try to get rid of you and bring you back to that dead state. It says, and they break their bones and chop them in pieces, as for the pot and as for flesh with the cauldron. So yeah, they won't mind chopping your ass up and putting you in a pot and cooking your ass, man, to get rid of you completely. You know, hey, you know, you ain't an Israelite, man. You know, you need to let that go. You an American, bro. You know, you a black American. You know, and that's what they do, man. You got guys who fall out the truth, and first thing they go and say, you know, oh, I don't know what I was thinking. You know, I'm not an Israelite. You know, I'm a Christian. Whole time they was out here on the block cussing out, cussing people out, cussing the so-called white man out. And the most I take the spirit from them, and now they, you know, they love everybody again, man. And then they'll come up here and try to talk me down like I'm crazy, you know. And then that's just trying to take that skin off of me, man, and put me back in that valley, that low valley, man, with the dry bones. You know, so not only would Jake, you know, try to talk you out of who you are, man. But if he could, he'll get rid of you altogether, man. And that's what Micah, verse 3 and 3 is talking about. He said, and chop them in pieces as for the pot and as for flesh with the cauldron. Spiritually, that's what Jake want to do, man. Is put your ass how to remember. Telling you need to go back to sleep, man. Go back to sleep. Be a nigga. Be a FBA. Be a whatever. Be anything but an Israelite. That's what most of these Jakes do, man. But hey, it ain't up to them, man. It's up to the Most High. I do some men fall, victim to seducing spirits. Because you keep listening to them damn demons, man, them seducing spirits, and they have you doing some wild shit and believing some wild shit. Especially a man that's been in the truth for like the latest person that I know of. He was an elder, and the spirit just left him, man. And he went back changing all the breakdowns, saying the Most High name ain't this name, it's a different name. Or this breakdown actually means this. And you start listening to these guys, the next thing you know, them seducing spirits hit you, man. You're like, oh, this man's been in the truth for so long, he might be right about that. And next thing you know, your ass done fell out. Because it happened to another Jake, man. He was listening to that crazy nigga, and he fell out. He bugged out. So, hey, man, you got to be careful. You got to be prayed up, man. You definitely got to be prayed up in this. It's all right for Jake to challenge, so to speak, what a breakdown is. But when the facts come back saying you wrong, nigga, you just got to admit you wrong, man. And you don't know what the hell you talking about. So we've seen it 1,000 times, man. Many men have tried. But the truth still standing, man. The truth is still standing. So, hey, man, I'm ready to close it out. Before I get out of here, I'm going to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakakadash. And that's it, man. Lord willing, I'll be out here next week, somewhere out here. Depending on the weather where I'm at. The Lord had a good spot for me over here in the shade today, so I chose the shade. Because normally it's some fucking homeless motherfucker over here taking a bath or something when I ride through. So the Lord got rid of his ass today and said, I got to have this spot. And lo and behold, I got the spot today. Matter of fact, with some water, I think they turned the water off. Yeah, that motherfucker was over there taking a shower one day. I said, look at this damn freak, man. But hey, like I said, Lord willing, I'll be out here next week. I pray this video was edifying to the elect. Shalom.